Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and KCSB.org. Today, Lietoc and I are joined by Emmet out of Portland, Oregon, based Water Shrews, sometimes Water Shrews Trio, the ecstatic music happening. In addition, Emmet is the active proprietor of the Bud Tapes label. How you doing, Emmet?
Doing pretty good, chilling.
Hell yeah. Well, we're stoked to have you on the show. We were chatting briefly before we started recording, but what have you been up to? What were you up to today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just hanging out. I was dubbing some like tapes and CDs for some Bud stuff that's coming out soon, like
Oh,
some
fantastic.
announced things, some unannounced things.
Hmm.
Yeah, we just did like a little batch of two things. So I just finished up like the tapes for those, and it's like a CD
Hmm.
and a tape. One from my friend Josh's project called the Modern Folk, and then my friend
Ooh.
William DeLee, who does just like solo guitar stuff. Nobody knows him. He's like the best guitar player in Portland, though. Like super cool stuff. I recorded his just like a little three track like improv thing of his. So I'm doing a tape of that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's gonna come out on Bud.
Yeah. I think the Modern Folk one drops this Friday, the 26th, and then Will Delete the following Friday.
Nice.
The
Uh,
no, just a quick thing there. The modern folk. I know I've talked to Island House, the guy who runs that label, and he's also put out some of the modern folk as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
has he?
I did the follow up to Josh's Island House release because that
mhm.
one's called like Always Be Recording, and then I did Always Be Recording 2.
Oh wow, there we go.
Oh, sick.
That one's on CD though, so
Speaking of, I'm assuming at least because you were talking about the home dubbing. What have you been using for the William tapes? Because I saw you were doing a run of 20 there, and then for
yeah.
what do you also do on that end?
Yeah, I've been doing like the stereo, just like two tape, like double
Yeah.
deck situation that has like a high speed dubbing option. So
Mhm.
I've been doing that mostly for my home dubbing. For a while, I was doing like pro dub stuff, and like it's exciting to have a lot of tapes, but it's also not very exciting when you still have a lot of tapes,
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't sell or
that
something.
type of thing. And you spend more money for them when you're having a warehouse dub them or
Hmm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I've been trying to scale, honestly, like scale things back to a much more like hands-on, like handmade packaging when I'm able to, home dubbed and home burned like tapes and CDs.
Hmm.
Just because it's like, I don't know, it's just more fun, I guess. And like when things sell out, they sell out.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of veering more into like this year, I'm trying to make a really big pivot in Bud from being an indie rock label to being a not indie rock label.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
so I don't really know how that's going to pan out. So I'm trying to spend the least amount of money possible and also like just keep everything in what I can do and what I can handle. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to put out more like of the type of music that I really listen to in my free time, which is a lot of just like experimental leaning, like mostly improvisational music.
Mhm.
That's sick, dude.
Is that
Yeah.
kind of, again, so I'm assuming that when you were starting up, but you were not just listening to that because some of them, the older roster and the projects that you had before, let me see. Um, oh goodness, the name of your previous project.
Oh, world record winner was my
Yes.
old band.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So, with some of the stuff that's come out on Bud, it was all indie rock, or at least were there
Yeah.
stuff that was kind of pushing it in a direction that you feel like it could continue with the label, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And I think that's where I started just because that was where I like came up in like playing shows and stuff in Portland. Like I found my footing in kind of this weird, like post emo
Mm.
like DIY as you would call it, though,
Yeah.
all of the DIY bands now have like booking agents and
Yeah, for sure.
On your
stuff.
in your 2017 record, I saw in the liner notes there on Bandcamp, you thank Strange Ranger and Alien Boy, a
Yeah.
bunch of others, but those two really stick out as like, hey, that one of those got pitchforked. I own
Yeah,
all of those tapes.
yeah,
I
all of
didn't,
them.
yeah, I didn't realize how kind of insular
Yeah,
the Portland scene was at that time, at least for you, kind of just to be like also a player in there.
yeah, totally. You know, honestly, like shout out those homies, all the love to them. We don't really chat anymore. It's like we had a little bit of a falling out, like kind of right or
Mm.
after that record. But Isaac and Fiona from Strange Ranger both sing on that first tape of mine. Um, all the love to them. I hope they are all doing well, but I haven't talked to them in a long time. But yeah, for a while it was this very like insular, and then certain bands like that kind of ended up in their own spheres and really kind of blew up and moved. A lot of them moved to the East Coast. Obviously, Alien Boy are still around here in Portland. Um, but yeah, I kind of found my footing in releasing stuff in this kind of after that era of like some newer folks who had moved to town, some younger folks, and then some just people via the internet because it all kind of blew up around COVID. I started it technically in 2017 just to release that first world record winner tape, but
Nice.
because in the classic like reason to start a label, like I just like sent it. I was friends with the Strange Ranger and Alien Boy and all those folks who were like sending their records around and like shopping them around. And I was talking to Isaac from Strange Ranger, and he was like, "Yeah, you should just like send it around to places. Like that's all we do." And it was like, yeah, I just got like ghosted by everyone, that type of thing. Except for honestly, like my big thing that always sticks in my mind is the person from Off Tempo responded and was, I don't know if you know that label. They've put out like some Seattle based stuff like Lake and some other like Slash Tires and that kind of stuff from the Pacific Northwest scene. I'm from Seattle originally, so I was kind of more tapped into that when I was like in high school.
Yeah.
But I sent it to Off Tempo because I was like, they're a big label. And the person hit me back and was like, this is a totally fake thing that we do just to put out like our friends' music, like you don't have to, it's like you don't have to do anything to have a label. You can just do it. So you should do that. And I was like, oh, like that just didn't, I thought you had to like do something or be someone to have a label. And it turns out you didn't. You just had to pretend like you did.
That's crazy. So the label people or the people that ran that literally said that to you?
Yeah, they were just like, this is like not a legit thing. It's just a thing we like put out our friends' records like, and it seems like you're on the level where it makes most sense just for you to do that yourself. And I was like, dang, cool, awesome. I thought that was a thing.
That's like so like real. I feel like when people have that like realization that it's like, oh, I can just do this on my own. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
And it totally didn't pan out for a long time, like I pretty much had to give away all those first world record winner tapes. I think I met up on Craigslist. Like, I don't know. I've always been like a big cheapskate, so I didn't want to pay the full whatever it was. Probably at the time it was like 80 cents a tape or something from National Audio. So I didn't want to pay for that. So I like met up with some guy on Craigslist and bought a bunch of C20s from him, like 100 C20s.
Yeah.
I remember, for the tape Thomas and I did, I found a guy who just gave away a bunch of Maxwell Type 2s. C9s. I'm like, okay, this is for free. This is it. We can put out like 15 of these.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think I did 24, and then those tapes sat around for, I ended up getting rid of all the world record winner tapes. Like I gave them away, sold a couple maybe at shows or whatever. Because world record winner was like a band for a while. And yes, like got rid of all of those, but I still had that big box of C20s for years. It was like 2 years I just had it like kicking around. I did some runs of like 6 to 12 tapes for some other things. The second world record winner release, I was like, I'm going to make tapes if anyone buys one, and nobody did. So I just never made them.
That's so funny. Yeah.
But eventually, actually, they were still in stock from Bud, like later down the line when we'd release some stuff, and someone bought one, and I was like, oh, crap, I have to make these now.
Oh, Was it like a special like tape? Like you just made a special edition of one of one?
Yeah, I ended up making
Oh,
3 of them and gave one to my friend Stevie who bought one, and then gave the other 2 away to some people that I liked who were buying stuff at the time or whatever. Yeah, but anyway, flash forward like from 2017 to 2020, before pandemic in like February, I was talking to my friend Addie, who had a band called Flip Chuck in town. Addie lives in LA now, but was living in Portland at the time. And my friend Nikhil, who was drumming in that band, had like recorded an EP of theirs, and they were like wondering what to do. And I was like, well, I have this kind of fake thing that I can make you a couple of cassettes, and you guys can have some for free, and I'll book you a release show and that kind of thing in April of 2020.
Oh, damn.
And so we were like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it in February or whatever. So we were like getting on, like doing that and making tapes, and then everything hit the fan. But we ended up doing like I ended up doing these live stream shows then that like really popped off just because everyone was so bored in like April and May.
Yeah.
And I just like reached out to all of my friends and was like, does anyone who has like poems they want to read or like songs they want to play or like just want to make art on stream or whatever, just like do whatever. So we had these days it was like starting at like 3 p.m. until like 1 in the morning. We would do like, just like crazy streams. So I think I did just like 2 of those. The lineup looking back is hilarious. It's like it's insanely star-studded.
what was it about everything popping off in Portland during those streams at that time? I know, again, Portland, like just what's going on? How was being able to keep it together like that? Because it seemed like COVID would really cause a lot of people, I don't know, to maybe move away or kind of disperse out. So it's interesting to hear that side. I've never heard of a presentation like that.
Definitely some people who moved away, and in classic form, like Portland is never anyone's like, place they're gonna hunker down forever type thing. It's always kind of a pretty transitory space. But so people definitely moved away, but also like that allowed me to think of kind of this broader scene of like people who lived in Seattle or people who lived in Olympia or all that kind of stuff, or people in Portland who I maybe hadn't seen at a show, but I liked their band, and so I could reach, talk to them through the internet because we would never have been at the same shows or whatever, but like then it just kind of opened these doors. And then with the live stream thing, it was just like I had group chats going with everyone in it to coordinate. At the end of every show, I'd just be like, if you have any recorded music, like anyone who's in here is welcome to release anything, just send me whatever.
Oh, that's sick.
So that's why it just like blew up, and I was unemployed for a year. Like I worked at the Children's Museum before COVID, so like there's no way that was going to happen. I think they ended up closing, and they got to blame it on COVID, all their administrative mismanagement. But
oh, really?
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say publicly. But so I just collected unemployment for a year and just dubbed tapes full time, pretty much.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
That sounds honestly fun.
Yeah, and so I put out, I think that I'll have to pull it up, honestly. Like I think I did like 20 to 30 releases in that first year.
Wow.
Let's see when the last one of those came out.
I didn't realize it was that many, but that's a pretty good to do it.
Yeah. So I guess that's
schedule.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I did 14 releases that year, so actually not that many, but still.
That's so impressive.
It was too many. And then I tried to keep that going for a long time, and honestly got kind of burnt out on it. But somehow still I've been putting out a lot of stuff all the time.
Is there at least a kind of signature release from that lot of 14 that really stands out to you, or one that caught on with an audience?
Honestly, one of my favorite things I've ever released, well, 2 things. I'll say 2 things. One was my friend Zoe's band called Hey Sucker. People ended up like really liking that tape, and I sold like 2 pressings of it to like 50 tapes, which at the time seemed like a lot.
That's sick.
Yeah, Zoe's just this really great like kind of lo-fi rock, like almost it's hard to describe the type of stuff she's the one who got me into a lot of like East Coast DIY stuff, like Level Up, before they were kind of a really big band at the time.
Oh, nice.
When we
That
were
was
in
something
college.
I had wanted to bring up because I had heard in the tracks I'd sampled of your project like an indebtedness to Double Double Whammy.
Yeah, for sure. I
Just
was
that
big
kind
on
of
that stuff for a while.
Free Cake for
Definitely.
Every Creature was another one that had come to mind. I still really love those tapes.
Yeah, I've sent some stuff back and forth to what's the Free Cake person's first name? Starts with K, or like Katie or something. Katie,
Yes.
yeah. I've sent them to
Wow.
Katie and then the Yala Yali guy, because they were, I don't know if they're still together, but they've been kind of on and off again. But I would like trade tapes with them and stuff, and so yeah, that stuff was definitely big for me
Wow.
at that time for sure. Like, and yeah, you can kind of hear me like doing the like Trace Mountains ripoff thing sometimes.
It was necessary though.
Yeah, I was just really wearing my influences on my sleeve at that time, which I guess I still do with Shrews and stuff, but it's a little bit more hidden just via the like not writing songs and that kind of thing. It's all kind of open.
Speaking, or at least kind of staying in this timer before we talk Shrews.
Yeah.
What were some of, I don't know, like really your like first big DIY experiences in Seattle? What got you also to get out on stage and touring? I'm curious again, like if with this music you had done in the 2010s, if you were touring anywhere in the Pacific Northwest or even Midwest or East Coast.
Yeah, I've pretty much only done, well, now I'm starting to tour a little bit more, but for a while I was pretty much only doing like Pacific Northwest touring. Starting with this band called Boreen that I have played in for a long time. My friend Morgan, now has played on the new Water Shrews Trio stuff. He's the third member. Yeah, that tape.
Nice.
Morgan's on that. Morgan's on that one too. But yeah, I played in Morgan's band Boreen, and that was kind of the first band that I was in that kind of like popped off and got some attention, and we got to do some releases and stuff. I'm not on any of the recorded material. Morgan is like a big like home recorder, like homebody type, where he just like obsesses over songs, and like, you know, and there are these insane layers of synths and samples. He's very into that band The Books, if you know the book.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of it. For a while, it was a lot of kind of like vocal sampling mixed with songs, and yeah, it was like a really cool band to be a part of. And like live, it was kind of a whole other beast that we were trying to like tackle the recorded music that was so intricate and bring it to a live setting. But yeah, so that was the first band that I like toured with, and people that influenced me to do that kind of stuff was kind of like a lot of the Seattle DIY scene that was around when I was growing up, which was a lot of like EHE, a lot of the like no wave scene in Seattle of like Stickers, and honestly now my friend Max Nordell's band called the Trashies back then. I never saw them, but I would see their name around a lot, and they were in kind of a scene that I knew people were just doing this weird little like DIY Pacific Northwest circuit.
Yeah.
Nice.
And what got me out of town first was my friend Jason Clackley, who booked my high school band at the Boys and Girls Club in Bellevue, Washington. Was
sick.
First show ever. It was called Ground Zero, and it was like just a really happening, cool, just like lame, but like, you know, it was just like not vibey at all. The space was terrible, but they would just book all kinds of shows, touring bands, and like, you know, have locals open, you know, just letting these like 17-year-olds open for noise rock bands from Bellingham and stuff, that kind of thing.
Make your dream come true.
Yeah.
Making so many kids' dreams come true those nights.
So now Jason Clackley has kind of worked his way up the ladder. Now he books for like Vera and some larger venues, and has been big on that. I don't have any opinions on the new Black Lodge for anyone listening from Seattle. I hear there's like some people like it, some people don't like it or whatever. I don't have any opinions on it, but I grew up going to the original location and really liked it a lot. And my friend Jason has been, I think, pretty instrumental in the recreation of that, and he's always done right by me and booked really good shows. But yeah, he was my first connector. It was like, hey guys, my friend Jason books in Seattle and would totally book us a show. We should do that, and then, you know, maybe we play Olympia on the way back down or something like that.
Oh, that's sick.
So that was kind of what broke my brain in that regard, and being like, oh, there's just this kind of weird network of people all over the place who will book any band pretty much, you know. It's just
Yeah.
That's it's very humbling, I think, and a great way to put it of the booker who will book any band. Not just the screamo band, or not like, hey, this is a punk cast, we only got. It's like, no, this is anything.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, at least with Jason, he was always like just really open to whatever and being like, you know, the bill will be eclectic and you might not like all the bands, but I'm gonna book some bands that'll definitely bring some people out, and like you'll be the only touring band, so you'll make a lot of cash or whatever. So yeah, shout out Jason Clackley.
That's sick. Shout out Jason, dude. So that first show, was that with your first, like, what band were you playing with?
Oh, my first ever show, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, totally.
I never talk about. Well, I had this high school band that was called the Mushies. That was
That's sick.
really gnarly. It was just kind of like me, like aping like Built to Spill and stuff.
Oh, that honestly sounds kind of sick though.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like that though. I don't.
Oh,
I think there's a recording somewhere of it. We recorded at the local all girls Catholic school in Seattle. For some
interesting.
reason, they had a recording studio and let us in there. I don't know.
That's
We
cool.
like to hear it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first band called the Mushies. We played it pretty much only in Bellevue.
So is that like where you grew up then, Bellevue mostly? Or
No,
was
no,
it
no.
actually Seattle
Bellevue
proper?
was way out of the way. I lived in like the central district of Seattle, but our bassist lived over there, and so he was connected with Jason and the whole little Bellevue scene that was over
Oh,
there.
cool.
So I would drive across the I-90 bridge to go play in Bellevue.
Oh, that's sick, dude. So I guess like where did you transition from there, your high school band? Like what, like, if was that just like your first experience with DIY? Were you playing gigs? Like how did you, like, I don't know, get involved in this like DIY culture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was like my entry point to it, and I just got a good taste for it. And then I moved away to college and had no idea what was going on. But
Ooh, yeah.
so I moved to Portland for college, went to Reed College. My buddy Garrett Link asked me to be in his band. Um, and we were called Dog Thieves. It was kind of like a loud, like kind of Dinosaur Jr. type band. Um, and I played guitar in that, and that's when we first really started playing like bigger shows. Like we would play with Strange Ranger. Before they were Strange Ranger, were called Sioux Falls.
Oh,
That was
right.
that was our first show, was playing with Sioux Falls.
Oh, sick.
And there's so that was when I really started playing like many different venues around Portland. We would play this spot called Blackwater Bar all the time. We were underage, so we'd have to get our hands X'd and be out.
Really?
I think 10. And it was always really gnarly because it's like a punk bar and everyone's really mean and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were all just like really excited little like 20-year-olds or 19-year-olds like playing way too loud music, and we'd always play for way too long just because we were so stoked, you know, and
Yeah.
and so like I remember I look shamefully back on a lot of times where we kind of like blew the room away a little too much, and then we're like, what do you mean we have to leave? Like through the OLCC or whatever.
That's so funny.
As it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first like entry to like DIY in Portland, and then from there just like started playing in Boreen, which was kind of Morgan had filled in on bass and Dog Thief, so that was my connection to that. Started playing in Boreen, we played a lot of shows, and then World Record Winner I had a really cringy synth pop band too that was kind of separate that I would play shows at, but people really didn't like that, so I didn't play very often with that.
What made it cringy? What was the issue?
It was just like, I don't know, it's just like a little too like hard on your sleeve core, you know. I don't know. You can look it up. It's really like not my cup of tea anymore. I did have a song called Built to Spill that I still kind of like stand by. It was about like it's kind of heavy. It's like about an old girlfriend of mine from high school who died. But yeah, that's kind of the vibe. It's like very emotional core, kind of like hard on your sleeve style thing. But then once I transitioned to World Record Winner, it was kind of more of like in the, you know, vibe of things. I was trying to rip off like some double whammy stuff. I was a big like microphones head at the time, so I was doing lo-fi tape recording Well, that was just kind of secondary because that was just how I learned how to record, was just via 4-track and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was kind of trying to do this lo-fi thing, and so people seem to like that a little bit more. So I was playing out a lot more with that. Um, yeah, and that had a bunch of different variations of bands and stuff. But yeah,
You just mentioned the 4-track, and I was curious because have you always been recording on 4-track? Have you always kept away from digital with the recording?
yeah, it was just how I learned.
Oh, wow.
I never really had a DAW or anything growing up, and
Mhm.
I bought on Craigslist. I got this Fostex. I don't know where I first heard about a 4-track. Oh, you know what? I can't remember which came first. If I picked up the 4-track on accident, and then I picked up like Duster's first album in like Valley Village, because it was just like all the Up record stuff was just in every thrift store in Seattle. Now that's
Oh,
Dude, that's
worth like
insane.
so much, but like at the time nobody knew them.
oh.
Yeah.
But I
And
got that
was
CD because I did my high school research paper on Up records, so I was just like really
oh
into that
wow.
stuff. And so I'd pick up anything that had Up on it, and that was one. And then I was so confused by how it sounded. I was like, this is like, is it supposed to sound like this? And then I got really into it, and then read that they had like recorded on a 4-track. And I don't know if I already had the 4-track, and then that kind of got me like into it or what. But yeah, it pretty much just was the way I started recording, and that cringy synth pop project was kind of emerged from my experiments with like home recording and that kind of thing.
Oh, sick.
Okay, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's cool
Sorry,
that you
this
were.
has been hopping all over the place. I've this like
No, that's
kind of
been great.
Now we love it. We're like putting together a puzzle. But that's really cool that you're super into like Up records and stuff. I was like super into Up for a while as well. If I still find like Up stuff in a record store or something, I'll buy it if it's cheap. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Like those Quasi CDs are
yeah,
everywhere. Well,
sick.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess they're kind of popping off now. They're doing that featuring birds tour now, which is so crazy. They're gonna play all featuring birds.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's super cool. I freaking love Quasi. Really great band. But yeah, Quasi, like 764 Hero,
Mhm.
Built to Spill, obviously. Duster is like good, but kind of overhyped now these days.
Yeah.
We're pivoted at adjuster. It's I've been waiting years. I've been waiting years for the pendulum to swing.
I was into it for sure, but now it's like all these like Zoomers who are like wearing oversized Duster tees and stuff, and every
Mhm.
time they play in Portland, it's like a whole total zoo. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
crazy.
heard that the shows have been crazy now, and also the merchandising or branding. It's it's so otherworldly or
They have like Zippo
unexpected.
lighters with the
Yeah.
stratosphere cover on it and
Zippo
stuff.
Why
lighters
is Numero doing that? Just to make a
sucks.
quick buck? I feel like it's
That's
stupid.
I
well,
think it's because they're trying to play into like the meme culture that kind
yeah.
of surrounds like Duster. That's the
Yeah.
only explanation I can think
It's
of. Is
the
like,
only cash cow that's emerged from any of these reissues.
yeah,
You can't do this like they've done Codeine reissue shirts and stuff, but it's not the same. It's not like that same kind of meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do a bedhead. Bedhead does not inspire the same
Yeah.
enthusiasm. Even the new shoot, like Majesty Crush, I think is the one that they just put out.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's nothing there. I but it is funny because some of those bands have now gotten back together again or are recording, and you see, I think I saw the video of a karate recording, and it's both. I'm both like so happy that they're just having a good time doing this,
Yeah.
but also you watch them and it just looks painful. Their backs are facing the camera. No one seems into the session.
Yeah, I was hearing that my friends went and saw Codeine when they came through town, and that nobody was at the gig.
What?
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it was
insane to
like
me, actually.
less than half full at a very small venue,
That is actually kind of wild to me.
which is super crazy to me. I feel like when I was growing up in DIY, I saw kids wearing Codeine shirts like all the time.
Yeah.
In
Anyway.
San Diego, we treated them like royalty.
Nice.
I mean, first
Shout out SD.
$30 gigs. This was it was for karate, and that was in February last year, and that had Rex. and that actually had at least 100, if not more, people there. And again, almost all like 40 to 50 years old. Coding few more 20-year-olds, and there's one guy with a BC&R shirt, and I got the set list before he could grab it, so I was really pleased with myself.
Cool.
But I was like, oh my god, we're doing this. And also you had the shoegaze act that Krause is in or was doing guitar for. That guy's been all around doing shoegaze stuff in Southern California right now. But I was super hyped that like, hey, people showed up. I knew it wasn't going to sell out, but a good crowd came through. And they seemed really humbled or happy and amazed that people on the West Coast wanted this because they hadn't played in 30 years.
Totally, yeah.
Are you have you guys seen that festival lineup, Best Friends Forever or something in like Las Vegas? It's like all like the 90s emo bands. Like,
oh no, is that the next like When We Were Young festival? Is the like
Kinda.
yeah, but it's actually cool. It's like
oh
yeah, it's like Braid, American Football, Cap and Jazz, you know, the Get Up Kids, like all
wow.
like the cool, like actually emo bands that like mattered, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't really fully get down with the emo stuff these days, but I can appreciate it. I had an American football tape back in the day. I will say. Now I don't know if I would be attending the festival, but shout out to everyone trying to keep their band alive and stuff. That's pretty cool.
I know it's kind of wild. It's gonna be interesting. Like I got tickets to it because I'm just like, all right, I want to see some of these bands. You
That's
know what
cool.
I mean?
No, yeah, like all the love to you. That's sick.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing like all these old heads coming through. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
To me, I think it's just worth seeing or kind of acknowledging that even. I think these are really fascinating anthropological things happening right now.
Totally, yeah.
Festival wise, when I look at it, the lineup is way like to the few people that really look at it, it's almost like you're being baited or micro targeted. Big Ears doesn't
for
even
sure.
Big Ears could not do this to me. But
Yeah, totally.
that was the thing is then I look like I'm thinking about like the Numero Fest, and that one wasn't as much because that really was Numero celebrating their whole roster of reissues. But it really is just like the Just Like Heaven in terms of doing that for that wave of indie, where it really was at its most popular culture saturated.
Totally. The weird one that is for me kind of nostalgic and made me listen to them for the first time in a long time, who were like big for me when I was like in middle school and high school, were this band called Menomina. You know that band?
Oh,
I feel like I've definitely heard the name.
Yeah, so they're back together. Yeah. They put out a new EP and they're playing
it's so exciting.
Show. They're playing a Portland show, playing all of their debut record, which is really crazy.
I never even knew how to pronounce it. Thomas, when we saw Agriculture at Permanent Records, I grabbed Friend or Foe for $1.
Yes, Friend or Foe is the one. That's the one.
They are. Sure. That's one of those 2000s bands that I remember when I was doing my Pitchfork show in 2020, and you get to 2003, and you get to the first one, which is it's just the name of their band, like I forget what it is, Menomina Rhythm Band or whatever. Misspelled as I Am the Friend or what, I forget what it's called, but great one. And then Friend or Foe kicks ass as well.
Yeah.
And
really great record.
They've been kind of forgotten about by a tier.
Yeah. Nobody talks about them anymore. It's really weird. Like I just got a targeted ad on my social media or whatever for them. Their press pic is their old press pic with like a Instagram filter on their faces to make them look like old men. Hilarious. I love that.
And I'm trying to think of other acts that are in that league of the same. The books are kind of getting there, but I still I remember in 2020 talking to a few people online and being like, oh no, people do know them. That got kind of grandfathered in a bit. I mean, Hercules and Love Affair, that feels like another great DFA classic.
Totally, yeah.
But also, I don't know, one other festival I did want to ask about that's happening in Portland that is returning for the first time in 7 years, I think is very exciting. PBR Fest.
Oh, yeah. I saw the lineup. Very bizarre lineup.
What is it? Who's playing?
Indie rock is bad. If you were to ask me what indie rock is in 2024, I would point at that festival and say, this is the status of American indie.
Yeah. Well, like Alien Boy are at the bottom of that, which is pretty crazy. But who
It's
else?
called PBR Fest.
It's
Sleeping
called
Promises, Big Thief, and
Project Pabst, is it?
Oh, I see right here.
Yeah, I can't say that I will be attending that festival.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
Phenomenon is going to schedule conflict, and
but it is really crazy, like, that, like, just seeing bands like Gossip are playing again, which is really crazy.
Yeah.
And
Why is
yeah,
T-Pain here?
yeah, T-Pain is on there.
That's
Dead,
random.
Dead, which is to me that's still one of the funniest like stories of the 2020s. One of the most vibed out rock bands, just playing every festival imaginable and having a sizable following. Kind of like they're like Krungaman to me. Just they're going to be on a
Yeah,
festival lineup.
Yeah.
exactly. They're just everywhere. If you play anything on Spotify, it's gonna start playing that afterwards.
Sweeping Promises is the one to watch. We've wanted to talk with them forever. I don't know if it's ever going to happen when I
They're
see
good.
names on stuff like this.
Or I don't even know them. Who are they local to Portland or?
They're a Feel It Records band that was from Boston, now based in Lawrence, Kansas. Sub Pop is doing their international stuff, but they're Feel It Records. They've got
Yeah.
PR, they've got a booking agent, but they're really like a bar rock band. It's just too
Yeah,
like a third, so it's super, super chill.
interesting.
Also, shout out that band Military Gun. There's a
Oh
local
yeah,
guy that plays drums for them, which is kind of sick.
Oh, cool.
shout out
Nice.
to that.
Yeah. It's random.
Cool. That is really random. Anyway, sick.
So yeah, I guess we won't be seeing you there, but
Yeah,
happy to have you back.
Shrews didn't make the cut this year,
That
so
that's why I guess we should talk about the Shrews now. We should probably. I mean, it's a really good project, as everybody here heard about the Water Shrews.
Yeah.
yeah, I saw both of y'all separately on that last Shrews tour that I did.
That
So
was that was fun.
How was that the first time you were getting to take Shrews on the road as a concept?
it was furthest from home I'd
Mm-hmm.
gone. But we've done two other like Pacific Northwest tours.
Nice.
We did one just me and my bandmate Skylar, and we just did a little like three shows, like Portland, or four shows: Portland, Eugene, Seattle, and Olympia. And then we did another like larger one up to Victoria with our Drongo Tapes friends at Friends of the Road.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Where you did like 2 weeks throughout the Pacific Northwest, which was really fun.
That's pretty cool.
You just played like everywhere you could possibly play in the Pacific Northwest.
That's sick. I feel like that's like some bucket list stuff to just like play that many shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to do a lot more of it, and there's 2025. I think I'm gonna try and do like a full US thing, but
Nice.
because I've never really like I just did this tour with my friend Max, and we went out to Denver and back, and that was kind of the longest like driving wise like longest tour I'd been on, and it was so fun, like just so crazy being so far from home and like meeting different just total freaks at every show, and like yeah, it's really fun. Really, I need to do more of it. I'm kind of addicted.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when you came down to SoCal, you were just touring with Elliot with his project Skunk Ape, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess how did you meet like Elliot and stuff?
Yeah, I think that was through like we kind of started labels around the same time, and so we kind of like got hip to each other's stuff. Elliot and their crew are kind of like we're really tapped into the like Flenser world, especially that band Drowse, who is my friend
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Kyle.
We know Kyle.
Yeah, shout out Kyle. Really, really great project and really nice guy. But yeah, like that was funny because it was like Drowse were just kind of the local, like kind of loud, sad band or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would see them whenever they do like a record release or tour kickoff or whatever. I don't know if I ever. I think I booked Drowse at my college once. I can't remember. It's years ago. But
also,
anyway.
Drowse was booked at the co-ops. Thomas had done that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, like 2020 or something like that.
Heck yeah. Yeah. But Drowse, oh yeah, Elliot was like big on that kind of stuff, and it ended up putting up putting out a project from someone who used to play drums in Drowse. His name's Taylor. His
Mhm.
project called uh, Really Awesome Project. I don't love the name, but it's called Being Alone. Uh,
Yeah.
music is really good, and Elliot put out a tape from that, and I think that was what first got me kind of hip to it. And then we were kind of chatting a lot about running labels and stuff. And I had a radio show at the time, so I interviewed Elliot for my radio show, and then
Oh, nice.
every time Elliot would come to town, and Elliot's really big on this, like selling tapes to record stores all over. Like whenever they go anywhere, they're just going to like every possible record store and like selling all the Drongo stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
so when they came to Portland, they just hit me up and we just like record store hopped and sold tapes and stuff. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's sick.
that was my connect, is that we just both run labels in the Pacific Northwest.
And
And
then,
they were the first person that I was talking about, like, I have this weird band where like me and my friend Skylar, we just like don't play songs, and we've just been jamming and like recording all of it. And Elliot was the first one who was like, I like, that sounds awesome. Can you send me that? And then was like, I have like a drone label. I would put this out. I was like,
Yeah.
really? Like someone would want to put that out? So they were big on like getting us to kind of hop on that and really start releasing stuff as Water Shrews and stuff.
Yeah, Elliot, because I had interviewed Elliot back in 2021, and I continue to get or buy a consistent little batch whenever they fall in my lap. And I've been increasingly amazed at the curation and desire to always let weird projects exist
Yeah.
on Congo, while also getting increasingly now it's like when I'm looking at what's it, the one guy in Athens, Georgia, um Thomas,
Michael Potter.
yeah, Michael Potter, and we're seeing like Drongo House as one of the show venues on there. I know it's like, oh, they're really doing it. They
Yeah.
have the entire kind of Seattle DIY thing, and it's great to see the attention because they sent stuff to Tabs Out, so we had the Skunk Ape, and we all kind of recognized like this is really solid, and we also thought NX Cave as well.
Yeah.
That is one of those undersung like happenings.
Mhm.
And then with Water Shrews, when I got, because I had the first one and it's hiding in another box of mine. And I think I passed over because I'm like, this is just a good lo-fi recording. Great. I'd gone back today and I was like, oh shit, there's a lot going on here to dissect. But both of these together in the trio formation, the one that came out on Drongo, I've shared this with probably about 6 or so other people. And it's such a hugely like an easy jump into, I think, the world of the band. It's really one of the most I mean, again, both of what are the pieces? It's tree and shrub, or shrub and
Lichen and Brush.
lichen and brush, lichen and brush. Brush in particular, the drone really works for people. I've noticed.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you like that one. That one's kind of a weird one for us. So it was like the first time I kind of was like, hey, like we always just show up to jam or to record or to play a show with just whatever. I like
Yeah.
try to never tell anyone what to do. But this was there's some other recordings from that session, but I pretty much just made us all get together just with like, we don't have any shows coming. We don't have to like, we don't really practice, but it was like, we don't have to jam to prepare for a show. Like, let's just get together and just record a bunch. And so like everyone brought over kind of an electric setup, like our kind of normal thing with like synthesizers and stuff.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, let's do some shorter pieces, which, for us, short is like 12 minutes or whatever. Like shorter pieces, and like, we're going to use these instruments. I was just like, some guitars and some weird percussion things and a harmonium. It's like, that's all we're going to use. So that was kind of the first time of me kind of trying to be like, hey, we should do like this kind of a thing.
All right.
And that was kind of initially where I wanted the project to be when I first started it. It was just kind of like a pelt worship, like acoustic drone thing.
Yeah.
And Skylar kind of pushed me more into like kind of electroacoustic territory, and then into our just kind of full like electrified weird thing that we do now. But yeah, that's kind of our return to form to that idea.
Something, there's a lot that I guess I want to dissect or try to get through with that. So the first sessions for the band, they were in 2022. Is that correct? Or do they actually go back earlier?
So I think I'd have to look, but I think Skylar joined my band in 2021, which was still world record winner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we played like one, maybe two shows where we were playing my songs, and the record that I just put out that was called Pockets Full of Nature. A lot of the I didn't know at the time that I was improvising, but a lot of the like ending bits of all my songs were this kind of like something that had been happening in the song continuing, and then me kind of improvising with guitar or like organ or other things over that. And so I wanted to like recreate that in a live setting. So Skylar and I were just, I didn't give her a lot of like ideas. I was just like, to her, I was just like, I want to play these songs and I don't want to know what we're going to do in between them, but I want them to not end. You know, I want it to just keep going and then we go into the next thing or whatever.
Okay.
But eventually we did like two shows, I think, with the songs, and the songs just got so boring. It was just like, God, I don't want to play that song again. I just want to do the like things that we do in between because that's so exciting to me.
Yeah.
And Skylar felt the same. So we're just like, there was one show we got asked to play, and we were just like, let's just not play the songs. Let's just do one like 20-minute piece.
Yeah.
And so now that's all we do. We got super addicted to it. We definitely like kind of weirded some people out because I got booked to play as world record winner, and we played many shows pretty much as Water Shrews, but under world record winner.
Okay.
And so some indie rock people were not stoked. Some indie rock people though were like, what, like, you can do this? Like, what are you, like, they were just baffled in like a really positive way of just like, some people like kind of had an idea of like, oh, this is kind of like a noise thing or a drone thing or whatever, and they thought what we were doing was pretty cool. But some people were just like, what? Like, you can just do that? Like, you're not tuning right now? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually, like, from that, I think that might have been in 2021. Because when I don't know when that first Water Shrews tape came out.
The first one's at the end of 2022. And I believe you mentioned that it's just, again, a home recording. And even if I recall some of this stuff that you were doing with the CDs last year, that's just more 2022 recordings.
Exactly. So I think we were just jamming in 2022 a lot. And then like we just compiled the thing of our favorite recordings from that. So yeah, one of them is like, so it must have been all 2022 when we really started just jamming, but we've been playing together in 2021 with more song-based stuff with improv in between. But yeah, 2022, that first tape, the A side is a compilation of 3 different jams that are just like, I told Skylar, like, I had a couple spots that I liked, and I was like, I'd like these to make it in, but you can just pick whatever to make it as long as the side B jam, which the side B jam is our first time improvising together. And I just like pressed record, and it's like us just getting like freaking weird and just like, I think at the end of that one, I'm like singing into a can that I have a contact mic on and like crinkling the can, and Skylar's got a contact mic on her neck and just kind of vocalizing. And yeah, I don't know. It was a great thing to just start getting just totally out there and really weird. And yeah.
Nothing you had done before in any other live setting or other kind of just one-off thing. You were never thinking to do this until kind of these moments.
No, I didn't think that you could. I thought that like, well, like listening to, you know, like free jazz and a lot of like improvised music that's kind of more coming from a compositional standpoint or like an academic standpoint, you kind of think that you have to really understand something in order, like it first takes you master every part of music and performance, and then you can improvise, or then you can push the envelope. And so I didn't really realize that you could just be a total moron like I am and just like do whatever, you know, and it's still, like, people are still going to connect with it. You're still gonna like listen back to what you made and be like, that was incredible. Like, I'll listen to this sometime, you know? So, yeah, I just didn't really realize that a lot of the stuff I'd already been listening to wasn't necessarily all from this really deep understanding level of music. It was more of
Yeah.
this also just exciting, like freeing way of making music.
And again, it shows up a little bit in the interview that you did with was it the Portland Reader or the
Oh,
Portland
the
Mercury?
Portland Mercury, yeah.
Yeah. They list off a few bands and I was like, "Oh, how funny." Because there was Sunburned Hand of the Man and we had talked with Moonglyph, the guy who runs Moonglyph, Steve
Mhm.
Rossaborough, and he loves that. He loves that 2003.
Oh, really? I did
Yeah.
not know that Steve liked that stuff. Cool. I'll
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
to talk to him about that.
he's big on that. So that was like so I
Cool.
was like, okay, cool. I've got Fig 5 by Jackie O. So I knew exactly. I was like, oh, sick. The stuff it reminds me, speaking kind of playing off of that into the world of Cranky, Shara Lambeeds. So there's like stuff like that that again plays really big into this. You talked about it, Pelt, which we will have a fan question about that at the very end. Um, and then other stuff that's like the emeralds and stars of the lid. I thought those were really interesting touch points, and there will be a point there. But the big one that connected as well was Matthew J. Rowland and the
Yeah.
Power of Rowland stuff.
Duo. Yeah.
Definitely, this feels like it's in dialogue with
Yeah,
Sonic.
we were
There's definitely
definitely early on kind of, well, Powers Rolling Duo was one of the first stuff that I heard that
Mhm.
instrument like fully instrumental music that was really engaging to
Yeah.
me. Like beforehand,
Mhm.
I always needed like with Sunburned or Jackie O, they were kind of the furthest out I'd gone, and they still had this kind of like almost song ideas, like
Mhm.
they'd be singing and have lyrics and stuff.
Mhm.
But with Powers Roll and Do, it was this really like open, just
Mhm.
instrumental and just two instruments and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So sick.
And early Water Shrews, that first Water Shrews tape, Skylar had just gotten a hammered dulcimer, so she's playing hammered dulcimer.
Oh, that
Oh, sick.
explains it.
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of hammered dulcimer on the Eiderdown tape too.
Mm.
I
Um,
noticed that. Yeah.
yeah,
With again, I guess the reason I bring that up, it's and I think that's a great point you bring up. Beacon would have been one of those first ones for me as well. I had got to other stuff at that point. I heard some Astral Spirits free jazz, or I had listened to Gaster del Sol, and I was only starting to follow what was going on a few of the tape labels. But Beacon and then Ohio as well
yeah.
they kick ass. And I don't know. I mean, just thinking about that moment you mentioned, kind of being unemployed in 2020, listening to different stuff, and then I know that when you were in San Diego, we briefly mentioned you mentioned the record shop where you were just they had the fire sale and you were grabbing whole catalogs of stuff. But
Oh,
what was a big like catalyst? What kind of pivoted that listening? Was Beacon like a player in that? And really, what other stuff were you getting
yeah.
before?
That Powers Roland Duo self-titled that came out on Feeding Tube that's got the like
Oh yeah.
sun on it, the sunset or sunrise or whatever
Mhm.
that is. That one was a big one for me. Um, it was honestly going through like, well, I got really into Yellow Swans too. That was another touchstone of like something that the first, like I remember hearing that record, being really excited about it, and being like, this sounds just like music to me, and it's not noise. Like I'd listened to so much noise, like tried to listen to a lot of noise music before, and like Wolf Eyes, but like would never really just throw it on. But Yellow
Mhm.
Swans became this thing that I was like, it just sounds normal to me, and I'd throw it on, and people would be like, "What is this garbage? Like, turn this off. It's
Mhm.
making me feel like terrible, you know?" And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" Like, that's the moment that I realized like my brain was like fully broken, you know? Like
Yeah.
I was too far down the rabbit hole and there was no going back type thing.
Mhm.
Yes.
So yeah, Yellow Swans was big for me. Yeah, the sun, like diving deeper into the Sunburn catalog and Jackie O catalog, um, and Pelt too. Like this one live Pelt album called "The Empty Bell Ringing in the Sky." That's a really big one for me. Um, yeah, so like when I ended up being all alone and I was putting out a lot of indie rock music, so I was listening to a lot of indie rock just from dubbing tapes, honestly, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
and like my friends' music. And then eventually, I was getting so much indie rock from that I needed something else for my personal listening, and
Yes.
I just kind
Yeah.
of like ventured out into weird stuff, and yeah, I just couldn't go back from there.
Oh, that's brilliant. There you go. That's what I thought. I was wondering if that truly was it potentially, and there you go.
Yeah.
We've done the math. From something at least that I noticed though, because you kept the focus so much just on the music, demonstrating those influences are really just, kicking back with it. There are no track names. And then outside of the most recent tape with Lichen and Brush, which again, it's really, they're just stickers, which I think is such a great signifier. What is it about the de-emphasis of everything else? The focus on keeping it super small batch, working with Elliot at Drongo, or doing those CDs in editions of like 20, and just not having any titles. What does that mean to you? And do you actually have titles for pieces?
Yeah, I think for me it's I think, and this ties into why I was getting more into like experimental leaning stuff, is like
Mhm.
the nascent DIY, which now it's the same thing as indie now, where it's like it doesn't mean what it means anymore. That was
Yeah.
for me of like, once I ventured down in the rabbit hole of the music industry and trying to pretend like I was a part of that with Bud, I started realizing that like all of these people, and I don't want to throw shade on people, because obviously like people are trying to make a living in music nowadays, which is freaking impossible. And I
Mhm.
totally understand that. And it's less on the individual people than it is about the system and capitalism that we live under that makes people do lame stuff. But pretty
Mhm.
much, I just started noticing that like anyone that I knew that was doing big tours or was putting out really big records and getting a lot of coverage were just all rich kids. And like it blew my mind that like all these people who had been putting in all this effort to their music weren't getting recognized, and it was because they were just working class and they didn't have the money to pay like a press guy or a lawyer to shop their record around, or like all this stuff. So I think for me, like my distaste with like indie rock, like popular indie rock and stuff, and moving into my own kind of type of music making that for the first time was totally outside of that system, was
Mhm.
realizing that I didn't have to do anything that anyone told me to do. They're just
Mm,
like, we're just jamming, and
yeah.
like this isn't a song that I wrote. It
Mhm,
maybe doesn't even have any meaning to me. Like there was some
mhm.
meaning that I was putting into it when I was making it,
Mhm.
but like when I listen back to it, I'm just listening and being like, what were we doing? I don't even know. It's like sounds like alien sounds or something, and like really in a really exciting way. Um, and so yeah, I think maybe my ideas of having these long form pieces that weren't like names or track names and not really having any kind of ideas and just having the music speak for itself was really coming from that, because I'm sick of the freaking PR cycle where everything has
Yeah.
to have this deep meaning, or like,
Mhm.
Oh
it
God.
has to like reference something that's really like zeitgeisty at the moment or whatever. It's like, no, we're all
Mhm.
just like making music at the end of the day. Like
For
most
sure.
of us aren't paying our rent, like almost all of us aren't paying our rent doing this. So like, why are we existing under these ideas and structures that we didn't create? It's like we should
Yeah.
just be doing what we want to do. And for me, it was just jamming, recording it, and putting it out, and like sometimes having a
Oh
fun
yeah.
name for the tape, but really not much. We have a new tape that's going to come out on Yard Sale for World Peace. Shout out that label. What my
Hell
friends
yeah.
from Olympia, really really cool label and really cool music coming out of Olympia. We're doing a tape that's called Puddle Dives, like two long form jams. They don't have names, but the tape has a name, for which is our second tape that'll have a name. It's called Puddle Dives.
Oh, that's gonna
Uh,
rule.
yeah,
I
that'll
think
come
I
out
think
soon.
that's great. Also, that brings us then, I think, to something that I also really respect about the project, even getting to see it in the live capacity. Even though it is you and Skylar, with the addition
Right.
of Morgan, you become the trio. And
Yeah.
I always love when this happens. It's like the $75 bill when they add extra people to become the Little Bill Big
Huh.
Band, or when Power Rolling bring in Jason or Cole
Right.
Pennington. So the Water Shrews have this sort of open collective policy
Yeah.
that that you're hinting at. And even again on the live, you were just playing with Elliot. Um,
Yeah.
really, do you intend to just keep doing collective stuff like that? Do you imagine that there's a version with like 6 to like 8 people?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have many. Well, I'm jamming with a kind of larger group right now with Skylar and two other people, and that
Oh,
might
cool.
be Water Shrews. That might be something else. I'm playing like clarinet and electronics and
Oh,
stuff in
nice.
that.
So sick.
But yeah, that's always been in the cards, and I've always been really obsessed with things like American Tapes
Oh,
or
yeah.
Yellow Swans,
Mhm.
and how they would always have like Yellow Swans had the D word at the beginning of every release, so that made it really like just to piss off record store clerks and stuff.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and then American Tapes, which is like John Olson comes
Yeah.
with a new name for like every release, even if it's maybe just him. And now he's completely discarded everything. He just puts out tapes that just have a word and a kind of just run like random mismatch of words that go with it.
Mhm.
It's like really crazy. Anyway, but I was very influenced by that kind of stuff where yeah, that's like this rotating cast of characters. It can be a bunch of different things. Sunburn and Jackie O were always like that, where it's
Mhm.
just like usually just Tom Greenwood and whoever is around, and then same thing
Mhm.
with like Rob Thomas and John Maloney from Sunburned. Like it's always just this kind of like mismatch of whoever's free to jam.
Mhm.
And so it started definitely as just me and Skylar, but I'm yeah trying to venture out more into like group jams and that kind of stuff. So for
That
sure.
rules. I
That's
You
so
were
love
cool.
definitely you hit it right on the head, Matt,
it.
for sure.
And again, this then probably I guess the Thomas, you got anything else I should
Oh no,
know?
go ahead, Maddie. Yeah, you can continue your
Um,
point.
again, but especially with the sound that this goes in, with all the interconnections and just stuff that we've been, I guess, talking about. I'm interested on your feelings about the term ambient Americana. What it means, especially for you as a regional musician that is touring in a regional capacity, has not been out to other spots, but like hosted Matthew Rowland
Right.
and has been totally engaging with this online as well. I'm curious if
Yeah.
you've seen the Rate Your Music list or have talked with other people in your neck of the woods about this stuff, because I think this is all really fascinating, great stuff on regional levels. We're all just
Yeah, totally. It seems really cool in that it's really not a regional scene. It seems like it's a lot of people who are like all over the place, which is cool.
Mhm.
I really like a lot of the music. I don't understand uh I don't really understand the name, I guess, like
yes.
ambient Americana, because it really isn't like all of that.
Mhm.
It's a lot. It's kind of a catch-all term for a lot of
It
different
is.
things.
And even I checked like Rate Your Music and the Water Shrews stuff, they're keeping that as like drone or like EAI.
Right.
Kind of they're or kind of like freak folk. They're not even applying the label to it. And I've almost used it very lax because
Mhm.
I feel like you could have a spectrum that has that drone stuff, but also there's like that hypnagogic pop aspect that's also there. Then there's just a lot of pedal steel. There's
Yeah.
just so much pedal steel.
Yeah. So it's really hard to yeah, I don't think we really fit in with that scene too much. But I do like and that's my thing about Water Shrews too is we have some genres that we play in, and things that we
Mhm.
definitely like listen to a lot, like improvised music wise. But I just mostly like booking shows for people that I like their music. I don't really care if they like sound like Shrews or not. Um,
Mhm.
so like yeah, like playing with Rollin or Joseph Allred, I booked a show for them too, or any
Nice.
of that kind of stuff is like really cool and I love their music, but I don't necessarily see us as like existing in that kind of genre world, more just that experimental music people who are making things on the fringe of whatever is interesting are mostly pretty much into whatever, it's
Mhm.
like we're all pretty open-minded people as long as you're also like a total freak or whatever, like I'll get down with your set. uh,
Yeah.
No,
so
I really
if you're
I
not
like
like
that.
being pretentious or whatever about whatever, it's like we're playing it. Actually, like Shrews are playing our two kind of like biggest profile. I don't know when this is gonna air. Oh, it's already published and everything now, but like we're playing our two biggest profile shows, which the next one isn't that big profile, but we're playing with this band called Nighttime, who are kind of a big band. Or they're
Mm,
on Bada Bing. Really
okay.
Oh,
cool,
sick, dude.
really cool band. I'm setting up a show for them, like a really small one because I'm not sure about Draw because I don't really know how big they are in town and stuff. But
Mhm.
setting up a small DIY show for them. But the other day on what was that? Sunday morning, I think we Shrews got asked to open for Rose City Band in Portland,
Oh,
Oh, that's crazy.
wow.
which is
Hot
gonna be
dog.
really crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's an incredible, and again, I think that speaks though broadly to and really to the strength of what you said there about, okay, we're not in this genre world. We all just get down with this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, same thing. It's like they're just a really cool like chugel rock band.
Yes.
And Barry Walker, who plays pedal steel for them, he's just like he comes to some of our shows because we play that Rollin show and that Joseph Allred show. We're at this bar that's right down the street from Barry's house, so he would bike to both of them, and he got really down with Shrews at our last like trio show.
Sick.
And I guess he just like started talking to Ripley at Rose City. I think they're a really cool band in that they're very much in the industry. Like they're a working band, but they're really like in their local shows, they're always really curating really interesting local bands. Like they played with this group called Roman Norfleet, or it's the person, but Roman Norfleet has a group called the Be Present Art Group. And they're just like a freak out spiritual jazz band.
Oh, nice.
That sounds sick.
Like, yeah, that was the first time I saw Rose City Band. They had Roman Norfleet and the Be Present Orchestra open for them, and it was incredible, like super good stuff.
Such a great way to do it.
Yeah, so I think they're like just really open-minded individuals, and like you were saying, Maddie, just like people don't really care what you sound like as long as you're like a total freak. And like, you know, I think people who are on that level who are making really interesting kind of improvised music, but that has like hooks and songs and stuff, they're like, I think they're usually trying to get like more interesting, like improvised, interesting bands to open for them. And maybe open some minds, open some doors, or just have everyone talk through our set. You know, you never know.
One, I guess I'll keep fight just a little. I'll give my devil's advocate here for ambient Americana. Not really, or just kind of something I'm curious about. Because I feel like at least one thing the music can do here, all this stuff, it's really great for just setting up a place or a space, road mapping, kind of a sonic roadmap of something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that leads with that, I am wondering if, especially with some of the gear that you've got, if there's any gear that you've wanted to add. Because also the electronic integration, I think, is great. And it's also happening like in C1 to battery stuff and all those guys on the East Coast and the Hudson scene. They're just naturally doing like German Komisch music now when they want to with this. It fits. I don't know why or how it fits, but it just does. I think that's cool. But field recordings, I've wondered if that's something that you've considered kind of inserting in there. If there's a way analog wise with just the 4-track or you've got to trigger those.
I have some field recordings that I use in Shrews sets from time to time, and you hear them on the records and stuff, but they're mostly just like you know, like dictaphones that I set outside on my front porch while it's raining or whatever, you know, that type of thing. And yeah, so I still do that. And yeah, I've thought about getting like I have a digital recorder that I do some field recordings on, and I've thought of getting a nicer one and trying to do more like straight field recording stuff. I have a kind of field recording noise project called Organic Produce that I just went on tour with. That's
sick.
A little bit more just like I was trying to do like mostly just field recordings, but it has kind of ventured into more like mixer feedback and that kind of stuff too. But yeah, speaking on gear, I have been trying to focus the least amount on gear since starting Water Shrews. It's very much like whatever I can come across. Like my partner works at a thrift store. We go to the Goodwill bins like once a week. I'm trying to play with pretty much mostly stuff I can access on that level. A, because I'm working class and I work retail, so I can't afford good gear. But B, just because I feel like the gear in the industrial music gear sphere is just so bizarre, and it never leaves people satisfied. It's always just like, what's the
you don't
next?
Want to be the next Jack White
on the next piece.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I need another pedal, I need another blow, I need another blow.
You sure you don't want to be the next Jack White though?
Yeah, definitely not a big fan of Jack White. He seems to be putting out a lot of really cool stuff on Third Man. Don't get me wrong. Like Indie Rock on Third Man's great. That new David Nance album, really cool. No shade on Jack White. He's doing
he's even got an ambient Americana act, North Americans.
Oh right, yeah. Who Barry Walker, who I know is the pedal steel player in that.
Oh really? That's sick.
Yeah, I have
That's
their
super
CD.
Cool.
I just fell asleep to their CD the other night.
There we
Dude,
go.
they're so good. They're like one of my
Oh,
favorites. Yeah,
what
amazing.
the TBD band.
One of the
Yeah,
only times that they've played together live was in Portland at a weird little brewery like a couple weeks ago, which is where I picked up the CD from Barry.
oh,
Wow.
that's super cool.
Yeah, but yeah, they're a good band. I like that stuff. This one's like really chill. Like my friend Garrett really wanted to get into them, and this was the first one he listened to, and he was like, "It is like way too chill for me." Like just
It's like perfect though, dude. It's
yeah,
like,
I love it. I felt
yeah.
yeah, like I said, I listened to it before I went to sleep or whatever. It's great.
Mhm.
I might have to wrap things up soon because I've got some dinner plans at 7. So
Totally. We're coming.
maybe
Yeah,
one
no
or two
worries.
more questions, and then I've gotta go.
Thomas,
We're
I
almost
actually
we're almost
think,
done here.
yeah, I think we're at kind of the end, so we can
Oh,
do
sick.
a proper, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say too, just real quick before we move on, that Yard Sale for World Peace label is sick. I knew I recognized them because Mike Mean Streets has put a record out with them, Maddie.
Love Mike.
Yeah, it was Scalpy
Nice.
and Mean Streets. That's like super
Oh,
sick, like guitar and drums. Yeah.
Yes. I listened to that tape. Very cool.
Dude, it's such a good tape. I didn't realize that it was on this label.
Yeah, Yard Sale is awesome. It's mostly my friend Anton who runs it. They are in a group called Shelter, which is kind of like a local Olympia super group. It's like my friend Max Nordahl, and Dave Harris, who played in Milk Music, now plays in Mystic 100s.
Oh, sick.
Who else? Travis, who is the lead singer in Naomi Punk.
oh, great band. Shout out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, shout out Naomi Punk, shout out Travis. Travis is fried as hell and plays a really cool synthesizer now, and like just like Angels for Carrots is Travis's project right now. They put out some really cool stuff. Angels for Carrots is great. Anyway, but Shelter too, check that out. That stuff's all on Yard Sale for World Peace. The next thing I'm putting out, which I haven't announced yet, is a CD of Shelter music. It's like a 150-minute long track.
Oh, that's sick. I'll have to check out
dubbing.
Shelter.
Yeah, you got it. It's usually different names, but it's always got Shelter in the band name, so it's always something like that.
Cool. Yeah, I see a bunch of Shelter music, Shelter, on the Yard Sale for World Peace at least.
Yeah, check that out. Yeah, shout out Yard Sale for World Peace. Really great label.
Well, I guess since we're wrapping things up, where can people keep up with all things Water Shrews?
Yeah, I have an Instagram, so you can follow me on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just Water Shrews. And then we have a Bandcamp that I think is also just watershrews.bandcamp.com. And what else? That's pretty much it. Yeah, you can just follow us there. You can shoot me an email at watershrews@gmail.com. I love chatting with people. So just like, if you ever just want to chat, hit me up there.
Awesome. And hopefully we'll see you again in your 2025 World Tour.
Yeah, I'll hit both of y'all up. I'll play in California for sure.
Let's do it.
We got one fan question, actually.
Okay.
A real quick one. This one comes from Cameron, who's asking, what's the favorite cut off Ayahuasca?
Ooh, well, I mean, obviously Cameron knows that like I've listened to the song Cuckoo a lot from Friends of the Road, playing that a lot, and I really now every time Cuckoo on Ayahuasca comes on, it just really gets me going. I'm really bad with track names though, but I really like the opening drone piece on it that's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something like that.
Nice.
I really, or maybe it's only 20 minutes. That opening piece is like punishing, and I really like it a lot too, but I can't remember the name of it. Shout out Cameron.
Shout out Cameron.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cameron.
All right, we got one last rapid fire question here, but
Okay.
Maddie, do you want me to take it?
Thomas, you got it tonight.
Okay. All right. So are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. All right. A rat is going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why?
Ooh, I'd say head first because the like tail, like I do not really mess with rat tails. Like I took a psychology class in college, and like I did first semester, got great grades. Second semester started with like a rat unit where we had to like train rats to do stuff, and they're the really big, like gnarly rats that are like the size of your forearm type thing, and like their tails are these like thick, like really long pink tails, and I had to drop out of the class. Like I just could not.
Oh my god!
And I like
Wow.
animals too. Like I like animals. It was just this gnarly thing of like them as this like science experiment on them
Yeah.
and their
Yeah,
I just couldn't get over their tails. It was like really gnarly. I don't know what it
that's
was.
crazy.
Yeah, so definitely head first for sure.
Yeah, good response. I don't blame you. That sounds
No,
traumatizing. Yeah.
we didn't mean to bring up some harm.
All
Anyway,
right. Well,
thanks so much for
yeah,
having me on, y'all. I really appreciate it.
An
yeah,
absolute
for sure.
pleasure, Emmett.
That's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and kcsb.org. Thanks so much, Emmett.
Bye, y'all.